Hello everyone and welcome to This Nintendo Life. This is a special episode. My name's still NBZ though, but I'm here not joined by Bally because he's having a good, funny, jolly time in Japan. I'm joined by the original Bally, my old buddy, old pal, Nick, aka Suuperblah 411, aka Suuperblah with 2 U's. Nick, how you doing?
I'm doing quite splendid. Now, by having a jolly in Japan... Is he like... what is his like purpose? Because he's I feel like he's on some kind of grand quest, Bally. Like,
I'm sure, yeah. He is on a grand quest. I don't know what it's for. Maybe he's trying to, like, become gaming Jesus.
I feel like he's trying to, like, 100% Japan, and, like, he's just going to, like, all of these, like, different, like, locations that have hidden things.
Yeah. It's like an Easter egg quest, right? Like he's just going around trying to find stuff that's been hidden there.
Who's hidden remember there? You've played Sleeping Dogs, right?
Yes, I play Sleeping Dogs.
You remember like the little shrines you have to collect? He's like doing that, but like in an adjacent land to where that game takes place. Yep,
no racism here. Anyway, for regular listeners, some people will know Nick, some people will not. Nick, why don't you tell people about yourself? Who are you?
Well, I am a American-born German / Irish / Native American / Dutch man.
Okay.
Who decided about 10 years ago, to...
Yeah, I know, don't think about it.
To start messing around on YouTube and making gaming videos, most of which of a questionably playable franchise known as Pokemon.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to put Pokemon, actually. This is the best way to describe Pokemon.
Yeah, it is very questionable. It is.
Yeah. But yeah, since then, I have kind of tried to keep doing YouTube consistently, but consistently failed at that.
Yeah.
So
I would describe myself as doing the same. So
yeah. And now I just consider myself a connoisseur of games and stuff.
All right.
That word? Is it just throwing a sentence enhancer there?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're just gonna have a very fun, very loose show here. We're just gonna basically be talking about some childhood games, what we played when we were younger, and some of our like stories of that stuff. So I guess we'll kick it off with the first question, which is, what is the first game you remember playing, or like the first few? What introduced you to video games?
All right, so way back, I believe it was 1993 Christmas. I wasn't actually allowed to play, but I was watching my brother and my sister play Sonic 2? Sonic 2. And I just, like, that was the first video game I'd ever seen in my life. So naturally I was mesmerized. Yeah. And I wouldn't learn until a few years later that Sonic is actually one of my least favorite franchises in the history of any video games. Yeah. But, like, still kind of mesmerizing. What was more impressive, though, than the thing that... than the concept of video games, which itself was like pretty impressive, but the fact that my brother and my sister could not beat Sonic 2 and instead my mom beat it for them.
What, really?
While they watched. That's crazy. She whipped through the Wing Fortress in Sonic 2 like it was no problem, and I was just in here like, what?
Man. That's very impressive. I don't think my mother has ever touched a video game, so that's like pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't think my mom has played one since Grand Theft Auto Vice City.
Gee, your mom played Grand Theft Auto? Oh my god.
She would watch like my brother play, and then like my mom and my dad would just like play when we weren't around. It was just like one of those like, oh god, I hope the kids don't find out thing.
Oh, really? Man, that's really cool. I wish my parents actually gave a shit about video games or something.
Because, like, they were driving around and, like, killing hookers and stuff. And I'm just
obviously. Of course.
Okay.
That's what you did.
Yeah, and that was that. But, yeah, Sonic 2 was the first game I ever saw. But the first games I ever played, I don't know the order of them, but they were some mixture of Pilot Wings...
So the Super Nintendo Pilot Wings, right?
Yeah. Okay. Zombies Ate My Neighbors and Mortal Kombat 2. And those were the first, 4 games.
Didn't we throw around the idea of trying to play Zombies Ate My Neighbors at one point?
Yeah, that game is so hard.
Yeah, it is really difficult.
Yeah, I think that's actually one of the hardest games I've ever played.
Man.
When you like compare it to like at what point you played it in your life. I played it a few years ago and I still couldn't beat it. It was really hard.
Yeah. No, a lot of those games are really tough to go back to, for sure.
Yeah. I think like it was really hard when I was younger because I was young and I was bad at it. Now it's hard because like if you go back to older games, you're just so used to being able to like move in like 9 dimensions that like playing like a top-down like water gun shooter with actual like drop distance for whatever reason is not as easy as you might think.
Yeah. So was the Super Nintendo your first console then that you had?
The first one that I ever played on, yeah. I had my grandfather worked like he like worked around town. Like after he had retired, he like worked around. I think he like started driving a taxi for just fun because he was bored during the day. And one of the people that he always drove around worked at this electronics store. And one time he just gave him a huge box and it just had a Super Nintendo in it. And it had like a huge library, like every game that was basically out at the point.
Man, that's crazy.
And that was in like the early to mid 90s too. So it was still relatively,
Yeah, like Super Nintendo was like 92, right? I think. So
yeah, so it was like 94, 95. So it definitely wasn't dated at that point. And we had a ton of games. We had like this like Tiny Toon adventure game.
Okay.
It was like, that was a good one. That was a platformer that I liked. We had all of the Mario games as well. Whoa! I almost died.
Podcasting is a dangerous sport, Nick.
Yeah, it is. You got to watch out for those like rolling random fits of choking. I wasn't a big Mario fan.
Still not, apparently, our previous conversation about you not thinking that Galaxy 1 and 2 belong in the top 7 Metacritic games. So
I just don't think I think they're good games. I've beaten both of them. I've raged at both of them sufficiently to the point where I think our relationship with each other, myself and Super Mario Galaxy, has gone to the point where I can safely say that they are good games, yet I don't think they're top 10 of all time.
Okay. It's a controversial statement, but, everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Right. Even if it's a wrong opinion.
Yes, absolutely.
But, yeah, I think the first one that I really played for a long time was probably Star Fox. I think it's the first game I ever beat.
Oh, wow, really? The original Star Fox?
Star Fox, yeah.
1. Wow.
There wasn't one before SNES, right? Yeah.
No,
Just
that is
the original
first
Star
one.
Fox. Yeah. And I remember being super excited when I finally got the Landmaster, like to the Landmaster part, because that thing was so fun to drive around.
Yeah,
it was great.
That's one that I think I'll probably play through because I ordered a Super Nintendo Classic. Somehow I managed to get one because the UK actually people don't really care about Nintendo here, so I think it's easy.
Like that's the one of all right. UK gets a lot of crap for having like delayed release dates and all that.
Yeah,
but you realize like there's like barely any people in the UK.
Well, yeah, comparatively, sure,
right. Yeah. And 2, they just don't care about Nintendo for whatever reason.
No, they don't. Sega was much bigger here, and there's also all these like old PC stuff, which I will talk about because that's like kind of coincides with my first gaming experience. So like, I think the first video game I remember playing was more. It was less video games. It was more edutainment software. Like. My dad would buy these like Beatrix Potter things, which were like CDs that also had like mini games in them, but there was also like storytelling. And then there were these other games, which was like Space Quest or something, and you would like go through these different worlds, but you would be solving like math problems and stuff along the way. So I played a lot of weird edutainment stuff on my dad's laptop when I was younger. I don't know if you like done much edutainment games when you were little, but
played a bunch.
Yeah. So
Pajama Sam, you are what you eat from your head to your feet.
I have no idea what these are, but those were kind of my first, and I don't really know if you can even count those as video games.
Like it's still like this introduction to gaming. Like,
yeah,
it's not a bad way. Like, if more people would have started with these kind of education-based games, we would probably live in a nicer world than we
Yeah,
do right
maybe. Maybe. But yeah, I think aside from that, the first stuff that I remember like playing was, so my dad brought home his new laptop and he had a copy of this game that was based on the Disney movie Hercules. And this is a game that actually came out on the PS1 as well, but it was a side-scrolling Hercules game, where you were like, the first level is going through like the trials with Phil on the island and stuff. And there's all these like dolls you have to beat up and stuff, and then there's these really cool levels at like Theed or wherever where you can see like the Cyclops in the background and like you're running to the foreground and background. Like it basically did kind of a mixture of side scroller and kind of Crash Bandicoot style, like behind the back camera stuff, and it was all in 2D and it actually looked really good. So you played this on PS1, did you?
Yeah, I played it on PS1. I think I like rented it. I rented the game for a week.
Yeah, I guess rentals were a much bigger thing back then, so that was
Yeah.
like the majority of how you'd experience it. But yeah, I was really bad at it, and I only got to that other level because there was some code that I managed to figure out how to do to get there. I think it was still a password system back then, because everything was on passwords. But yeah, because I remember getting to...
But like, I don't think that game used a memory card, to be honest.
Yeah, I can't remember. But I got to like the Cyclops level, and I just couldn't get past that because I was just bad, obviously. And then aside from that, like the stuff I grew up with was Amiga that was handed down to me by my cousin, because he'd like grown up during the 80s and he had an Amiga and all these like tons of games. And so he basically just dumped the entire thing on me. And so I had this system that was super fucking old. And it had like a joystick. Like the controller was a massive joystick with like these 4 massive buttons. It was very like classic like British gaming, you know? And there was a few games that I recall quite fondly. One is called James Pond. I don't know if you've heard of James Pond before. But it's basically like... You play as a seal.
I could guess.
Yeah, you play as a seal who's like a secret agent, and you go around like these platforming levels. That was a good one. I think it was the second one that I played. There was also Whizball, which is the one where you're this like green ball that you bounce around these space levels. I don't recall it very fondly or you know, how it played. There's also Bart versus the Aliens, which was a Simpsons game that I think was also on NES. Have you played that one?
I haven't played it, but I know of it.
Yeah, so that game is complete bullshit, because I actually remember watching Giant Bomb play it like a couple of years back, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, Jesus, no wonder I'd never even got past the first level, because the stuff it asks you to do is fucking absurd. And like, if you get hit once, there's no checkpoints, you just start at the beginning again. Like, it even plays the cutscene for the beginning of the game again.
That's brutal.
It's horrible. It was really bad. But I remember like it being cool because The Simpsons was a thing, and I was like, oh, this is a Simpsons game. So that was a thing. And then the last one, which I really actually want to go back and play because it's actually available on 3DS now, is Afterburner 2, which Afterburner was basically kind of like Star Fox. It was just not a flight sim game, but a kind of arcadey flight game. Where you're just shooting enemies in front of you and, you know, basically, you know, pseudo 3D graphics, but still with sprites.
No. I remember it. I think it was on the Sega Genesis as well.
Okay, yeah. So I think a lot of these games just, like, were ports and crossed over from different systems.
On, like, everything. Like, I had, like, Aladdin for, like, 3 different consoles.
Yeah, I mean, Aladdin's an interesting one because it's, like, a completely different game on Genesis versus Super Nintendo. And then people prefer whichever version, so that's a interesting thing. I don't think I ever played.
The mechanics are different, right? It's weird.
They have different levels, different mechanics, all that stuff. But I've never played any of those like classic Disney games. So
Lion King was kind of hard, actually.
Yeah,
like I was really like, I'm bad at platformers now. As a kid, I was just hopeless.
Yeah, I can imagine. So yeah, the Amiga was basically my first like major system that I owned until the PlayStation, of course, and the Game Boy. But yeah, that's I guess those are like my first games. Anything else that you can think of, like when you're young, aside from the Super Nintendo stuff?
It was pretty much Super Nintendo, Sega. The first like game that was like just mine was when the PS1 came out, and it was actually Crash Bandicoot. So I remember setting up the PS1. I still have the box for my PS1, actually.
That's crazy. Is it still in okay condition?
It's probably not.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in like the basement somewhere, so I could just imagine it's probably just like falling apart somewhere. But I remember I remember it like crystal clear, just unboxing it and then booting up Crash Bandicoot, which was just so much fun to play.
Yeah.
And I haven't played the remake of it, but
yeah, the trilogy, which is selling insanely well. Not to pardon the pun, I guess, because it's called the Insane Trilogy. But yeah, that thing is doing. And going back to our point about the UK hating Nintendo, Crash was massive here because the PlayStation 1 was massive here, and it has just done ridiculously well in the UK. And I think that's because everyone here has nostalgia.
Yeah. Also, I think one of my favorite things about it was that they added like the intro stage to Uncharted 4.
Oh yeah, dude, that was so good. I love that moment.
That's like the best marketing for like, oh look, see this old game that's like really cool and everyone liked? Well, we're remaking it, but here, play it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then it gets like all these like younger kids like, hey, this is a game, let's play it.
So you played Uncharted 4 now. I was just wondering because you hadn't played it last time I talked to you. I don't think.
I've played half of it.
Okay, you need to go back and finish that thing off.
I don't want to play it unless I can like give my undivided attention to it.
Yeah, sure, that makes sense.
Because I feel like it deserves my undivided attention.
It does. I was just full headphones on for that game. I remember having finished. I handed in an essay or something, and I just like came home and just sat there for like 6 hours and just blasted through the end of that game. It was really good. So anyway, that's a new game. Let's not talk about new games. Let's talk about more old games. The next question that I kind of proposed was, what's the game you think you lost the most hours to? And so
I couldn't quantify it, but it would have to be I think by default, it would have to be either Pokemon Red or some version of Guitar Hero, whether it's 2 or 3.
Ooh, yeah.
I think
that's a big one.
Because when Pokemon Red came out, obviously I was addicted to it.
Yeah,
like everybody
totally.
was like glued to it for years, and like I still speedrun it and stuff. So
yeah,
the meter's still ticking on that.
Sure, it keeps
and
going
then
up every day.
Between Guitar Hero 2 and 3, have you ever tried being? You actually, in fact, have tried being a teenager with a Guitar Hero controller in your hand and friends. So there's just countless hours of mindlessly clicking away at songs on your screen for just it's I don't know. It was just such a craze that like pretty much the summary of high school was, hey, what do you guys want to do this weekend? Oh, let's play Guitar Hero in so and so's basement for 20 hours.
Yeah. That's I don't think I had like too many like multiplayer experiences with Guitar Hero. It was mainly just me locking myself away and trying to play Dragon Force more than anything else.
Honestly, like that was it, but like we would also like everybody was playing on their own as well, and then like on the weekend we would just play on our own together. And like it was really cool because people like would be like they would try to beat their high scores, and then like you can beat Jordan on expert, and like that was really hard to do. So now Mikey's the cool kid, and then Mikey's a dumb butt because he can't beat 6, and that was Guitar Hero 2 summary. And then Guitar Hero 3, obviously it was all about like Through the Fire and Flames, and what was the other? There was like another like really hard one on Guitar Hero 3.
Guitar Hero 3 had a lot of hard songs. Like I think Guitar Hero 3 is defined by the fact that it's really got some insane shit in there. Like it's ridiculous. It has like One by Metallica. It has...
Dude, One is like the most chill song. You're going through and you're playing it on expert, and you're like, this is the easiest song I've ever played.
Like,
and then the solo
and then it goes it just fucking changes. It's so
dude,
much.
I would just stop playing it at the solo every time.
Yeah, just quit there. There's no point going on. But there's like Santana songs in there. There was Cliffs of Dover, which was an insane like instrumental song. Like I have the thing about Guitar Hero 3 is it's not only an important game for me just because the game was fucking good. Like I started playing the real guitar because of that game. Like that game shaped my music taste when I was that age. Like it's kind of crazy the influence that game had on me. And actually
before Guitar Hero, I hadn't heard of like 90% of these songs. So
yeah, it was big exposure for sure to just like be like, hey, this is some music. You should like broaden. The radio is not the only music that's out there. Like you can actually listen to all these different bands and stuff. So that was really cool for me. And yeah, I think I probably spent a good 100 or so hours because there was a channel on the Wii, because I had Guitar Hero 3 on the Wii, and there was a channel on the Wii that told you how many hours you'd played, because this was the days before they did activity logs. And Guitar Hero 3 was the top of my list with like 115 hours or something. So that was quite a lot. But aside from that,
like I said, I probably couldn't, like, a lot of my time was probably spent like watching other people play as well.
Yeah,
because even like a lot of my family members played, so we would play it at like family get-togethers and stuff as well. Like I have a lot of cousins who are like within, the similar-ish age bracket, so a lot of like I would count my time to that as watching other people play as well. So I definitely think Guitar Hero is up there, but Pokemon Red is probably ahead by quite a bit.
Yeah, see, here's the thing, like I
feel like that's like unfair for like anyone born between like 85 and 95.
Yeah, like Pokemon is the answer, like is the ultimate answer. But I don't know how many hours I collectively put into like the second generation, because I owned all 3 games for that, and that was the one where I was really putting a lot of time in. Like I played a lot of Blue, but I didn't like go crazy, because
like that's the thing. Like it gets scary if you start adding up all of the generations.
Yeah,
then it's just out of control.
It is, absolutely. But like the thing that I remember,
I've probably put the most time in, if we're talking about franchises, probably MLB The Show.
Oh really? Okay, yeah, because you're a big baseball fan, so
right. Like I would play that like if I didn't have anything else to play, like story wise. That was just like my go-to game.
Okay.
Like I'd probably play it for like an hour or two a day for most of the year. So yeah. And then like on Rocket League, we were talking about before, Rocket League I have over 500 hours on. So I don't know. It's definitely scary to think about how much time you've like just put into video games in your life.
Yeah, I know. It's a bit shocking, but I think Pokemon's probably a similar one for me. The reason I was saying I don't think Blue is higher than my Gold or Silver stuff is because during the Pokemon Blue era, it was so much about like the extra media that surrounded Pokemon as well. So I was spending a lot of time with the cards, and I was spending a lot of time watching the anime and like just doing all this different stuff surrounding the game, and not like focusing all my attention on just the game. So
yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Whereas when Gen 2 came out, it was pretty much just the game.
Yeah, like the anime tapered off. They did like the Lugia film, and then the Entei film, and then like after that, I don't think I remember them putting anything out in cinemas here. So it kind of was like,
I think Entei was the last one, honestly.
Yeah, because the Cerebi one was coming out, and then like they never, or Celebi,
Cerebi.
God damn it. I say that because it was only coming out in Japan, and they call it Cerebi in Japan. So.
Technically, it's not untrue.
Yes, absolutely.
That's all we're looking for here.
I was having a conversation with Sanjeet the other day, and we're just talking about how like back in the 5th gen days, we just all called the 5th gen Pokemon by their Japanese names because the English ones didn't exist yet, like, and then somehow I can still recall all those Japanese names weirdly. I
think it's because of like the initial impression. Like, you didn't like. I don't know. Like there was nothing else to call them by. So yeah.
Natore, stuck in my brain, still there. So
yeah, still brains, like they won't memorize useful things.
No,
like,
of course not. It's like, oh, here's Natore and Burangaru, the best wall combo of this generation. So that's what's going to stay in my brain. Oh, boy.
Yeah, but not like, oh, I've just been bitten by a poisonous snake. What do I do now?
Yeah, exactly.
And you're just like, I'm going to rub dirt in it and run to the hospital.
Oh dear. So yeah, aside from Pokemon, for me, like I struggle to think of stuff when I was younger that I really put a lot of time into. Like I remember playing a ton of Soul Calibur 2 and obviously the Smash Brothers games in like a multiplayer setting. So those are probably up there. But also on PS1, like I had a pretty large PS1 collection, but I never like played a lot of that stuff on my own. It was usually when friends came around, I would play my PlayStation, even just the single player games, because I had this weird thing when I was younger. I was very like scared to play video games by myself, and not because the video games were inherently scary, just because like the threat of dying or the threat of like having to redo something was really horrible for me when I was younger. I was like, I just didn't want to play something and I guess like not progress or whatever. So I was always very sheepish.
Oh, it's like people that can't play like ranked games without like other people and their friend. Like I know a lot of people that won't play ranked unless they're playing with other people.
Yeah, just
because,
stuff like that.
Yeah, they need like shared accountability for when they inevitably fail.
I guess, yeah. So maybe that was the case, or just it was like a nice safety blanket or whatever to have like someone to talk to. At this point in my life, I have podcasts which just talk to me, so that helps when I'm playing games. But yeah, there was this one BMX demo. I can't remember what the actual game was, but it was because I never owned a Tony Hawk game. Like this BMX demo was this thing that was the closest thing I had to Tony Hawk. And so I just played this thing again and again. And it had this one song that just never changed and it just kept repeating again and again. I can't even remember what song it is, but it was just like burned into my brain for that small period. But that was a big thing back in the day, just demo discs everywhere for the PlayStation. Nintendo were never really big on doing demo stuff.
Discs.
So.
The demo disc was like the first time I ever played Metal Gear. It was on a demo disc. I think like Cool Borders, which is like one of like my favorite like.
Cool Borders is great. My cousin had Cool Borders, and it was one of those games that I always wanted to have and never got. But it was like the sort of thing with those style of games where it wasn't like campaign based, like it wasn't to have a story that you had to go through levels. It was just like, hey, do a run down a hill. It's fun. That was the sort of stuff I played more frequently, I guess, when I was younger.
Yeah, I think demo discs were like largely impactful for me siding with like PlayStation when I was younger.
Mm-hmm. They
just because like they would just come like attached to a magazine. Like you could just pick up a $3 magazine and here's a demo disc with like 4 games in it.
Yeah, that's it's weird. It's weird that they don't do demos as much these days, but I guess like there are so many other ways to see what a game is and whether you want to buy it. Like just YouTube and Twitch on their own have basically made that useless.
Back then, that was their only way to get their like that was the only way to advertise their game in motion. The only other way they could do it is like take like a gamer magazine like Nintendo Power or something and just post screenshots of the game.
Mm-hmm. Or even just television adverts, effective. Which were very expensive.
I don't remember which one it was, what magazine it was, but like I would get it every month and there would just be like upcoming games and like there would be like a major game of the month that they would profile. And I don't recall the magazine ever once like making me say, hey, I want this game. And
so
I don't know if it was like the fault of the writers or whatever. I just think I need to see a game being played or play them myself to be able to decide.
I was definitely influenced to some degree.
But
I saw
shots don't really do anything for me.
I saw a preview of Soul Calibur 2 and I'd never really heard of it before. And I saw Necrid. I was like, that guy looks cool as shit. So I bought Soul Calibur 2 just because I thought Necrid looked cool. Like, I didn't even realize Link was in it. And I wasn't super into Zelda at the time either, so that didn't really impact my decision. But, yeah, I don't know. There were some games where I was like, oh, that looks great, and that's why I bought it. But, yeah, it was harder to, like, judge what the hell a game was, for sure. So, I don't know, yeah, in terms of my childhood, I guess Pokemon and that BMX thing are probably the biggest time stealers, but since then, obviously, like, Diamond and Pearl is, like, 900 hours of my life, and, yeah, there are not many other games I've put, like, a huge amount of time into. Like, a lot of them are, like, big single-player stuff, like, I put 100 hours into The Witcher 3, like, Xenoblade 1 and 2 are both, like, 90-hour games. Breath of the Wild, I did 100 hours, so...
I still have Xenoblade, and I haven't played them.
You should play them. They're real good. Very long.
Probably get on that. I have so many games. I have like the God of War trilogy that I've never played. I've played the first 2, but I got the HD one for the PS3 and it's still unopened.
Boy, they put the HD ones out on PS4, I think now, or maybe it's just 3. I think it's just 3 they've remastered on PS4. But
yeah, and like Bayonetta.
There's a lot of there's a lot of just like comfort gaming that happens, I think. which is like probably your thing is with like Rocket League and Overwatch and these kind of games. And now at the moment, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, which everyone else is going crazy about as well. So
yeah, I haven't played a single player game in a long time.
Yeah,
like now that I can't name one. Other than like half of Uncharted 4 that I played like a couple of months ago. I haven't played a single player game in like the last year pretty much because I went through a 6-year period where I didn't have internet and I didn't have the ability to play multiplayer games.
Yeah, I guess you're just making up for it now, like in abundance.
Yeah, and like that's pretty much the majority of my gaming has been multiplayer.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. I think like generally, if you look at the industry right now, so much of video games is like Destiny and Overwatch and like these games which are games as a service that you lock into and that you just play for like years and you don't kind of leave them behind. So yeah, it's interesting for sure. The next thing that I had on the list was games you got as presents that you didn't actually want, which I think a lot of people experience generally. I'm sure like a lot of the time you get them and you're like, well, I have to kind of like this because I can't just say to grandma that I didn't want this game, so just have to lump it and live with it. Any standouts for you, Nick?
Yeah, I've got two. One that I didn't... The first I didn't want and I didn't like.
Okay.
So there was this... I was in this like kind of like general purpose store with my mother when it's probably like 12 or 13. It was like right after the Game Boy Advance came out, so there was a big bin with like a lot of Game Boy Color games in it. And she's like, "Sure, get a game if you want," and because they were like on sale, and like there were some games. I had a few of them, and I saw Earthbound there, and I was like, "Hey, this looks fun. Let's get Earthbound and play Earthbound," and so I ended up putting it back for some reason, and I went back to grab it, and I 100% grabbed the case with Earthbound.
Okay.
Like it said Earthbound on the case. So my mom got it for me, and I opened it, and Earthbound was not inside the box.
Oh, no.
And it was this like track and field game for the Game Boy Color, and it was basically like you're like a college student who's training for like, I don't know if it's the Olympic Games or if it's just like a collegiate competition. Mm-hmm. And it's basically it's like a timing based, like everything's timing based. So like you just, shot put, javelin, long jump, all that crap, discus. And after you train, you have options to like rest, recover, or hang out with friends. It's basically a dating sim.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah. And one of like, and like if your girlfriend breaks up with you, like your performance goes down because you're depressed. And I'm like, I don't like this game. And one of the treatments for recovery is like electroshock therapy.
What the fuck is this game?
And if it goes well, your muscles feel like rejuvenated and stuff. But if they accidentally overshock you, your performance goes down again.
Man.
And yeah, it was the worst game I've ever played, I think.
God, when you're talking to me about like a track and field game, I did not expect it to go in this direction.
Yeah, this is what the game was, and I was expecting to play Earthbound when I got home.
Oh my God. That's ridiculous.
Oh, man. But the other game I got as a present was from my sister for my birthday, and it was actually Jak and Daxter, the precursor Legacy.
Ah, so the first one, right?
Yeah. And that game I actually really, really enjoyed. It was like the first kind of like...
Okay. So you just like never heard of it before, but you got it and...
No, I'd never heard of it at all. And
okay.
It kind of reminded me of playing like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon when I was like probably 5 years prior, I think, at that point.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really enjoyed it. It just seemed like a very Sony type game to me, like kind of like adventure platforming.
Yeah, I mean, it was like kind of Naughty Dog's like successor to Crash, so
yeah, it was basically, yeah. So I really enjoyed Jak and Daxter. I love the characters. I guess the game looked pretty good for the time, so I like the characters. I like the world, and it was just fun to play. It was just one of those like mindless, like I think there was like 3 bosses in the entire game. But
oh really? So that's the interesting thing about the original Jack, because it's not like... Because that series kind of morphed into something else. It became more like dark and gritty and like open world and actiony, as opposed to the first game, which is much more of just a platformer. Like it's much more like, you know, classic happy mascot thing versus you know, where it went.
Like Daxter is basically like kid-friendly Conker.
Oh wow!
And that's just like that's what like it kind of like stuck me as, because I had played Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Okay.
For the N64.
Are you a fan of Conker's Bad Fur Day?
I really enjoyed that game. Like when they got to the Matrix bit when he like dresses up as Neo. That was just like one of my favorite parts for like any video game when I was younger. It was just really fun.
It's a very funny game. It's so weird and different. And
I don't believe they got away with a lot of the stuff they did. If that game had come out like today, it would be catching a lot of flack by like
for sure.
Yeah, because there's a lot of like everything's more PC now. So.
It's also because like you pick up the box and it's just this happy squirrel, and like most parents would be like, "Oh, this looks like a fun, you know, game for my kid," and they take it home, and all of a sudden they're like jumping off this fucking sunflower's boobs, and it's like, what the shit is going on here? It's so ridiculous.
So Jack and Daxter was one of the gift games that I actually pretty much I really enjoyed it. And then like I played it through Jack X, which is the racing game, and I'm going to contest. I don't know if this is a hot take or not.
Okay,
but I think Jack X as a racing game, as a combat racing game, is better than any Mario Kart game.
Really? Because I think a lot of people contest that Crash Team Racing is the one that they would go to bat for.
That was a good one too. Yeah, but I like Jack. The style of Jack X was.
I don't even think I've ever seen a single frame of gameplay from Jack X. I've just heard that it exists. I don't think I've ever seen it in action. So I should probably.
It's like one of the best. Like it has the best driving mechanics. Like Mario Kart does not have good driving mechanics. I don't care what people tell you.
Apart from Mario Kart 7, the ultimate Mario Kart.
Mario Kart 7's pretty good.
Yeah, see, I like how you agree with me and Bally.
I don't think it's the best one though. I think Mario Kart Wii's the best one.
Oh no, you're so wrong on that. I fucking hate Mario Kart Wii. Mario Kart Wii is garbage.
We'll have to have a Mario Kart argument.
Yeah, let's do a Mario Kart podcast where we decide what's the best Mario Kart. Boy,
we'll play off in each of the Mario Kart games and figure out which one is the best.
That's a good idea for a video series. One race in each Mario Kart. I like it.
So, what about you? Presents?
Yeah, so
Kate and Ashley's
horse riding adventures. I can't even remember if Mary Kate and Ashley's horse riding adventures was a present or if it was something.
I would hope not.
No, because that would be really bad, wouldn't it? But like, my sister generally never got games as presents because she didn't play games. The irony was that she was the first one in our family to own a game system because the Game Boy Color had come out and my mum got that for her birthday, which was really stupid because I just ended up using it most of the time because I went to the shop and bought it with her, and while I was at the shop I saw Pokemon Blue, and at this point in time I'm just fucking Pokemon obsessed. Like, love the card game, love the anime, and I'm like, oh mum, please, like, get this game for Lalsa. And you know, she picks up this like Quest for Camelot game, which is you know, it's kind of basically rip off of Zelda. And that's what she had to play, whereas I went about and got Pokemon Blue, and she played that game maybe once on her birthday and then never touched it again. And I think I tried it a bit, but it was weird. So anyway, Mary Kate and Ashley's Horse Riding Adventures, which I can't actually remember what the real name of the game is, because we've just ruined it. We just call it Mary Kate and Ashley's Horse Riding Adventures. That's not actually what it's called.
No, I don't think so.
But it is a PS1 game. And it was kind of open. It wasn't like an open world thing, as I kind of talked to you about. It's like I didn't have Grand Theft Auto, so I played that. But yeah, I don't think that was tied up with a present. I think
it was just Mary Kate and Ashley Winner's Circle.
Winner's Circle, yeah, that's the one. Yeah. God, that game is actually better than it should be.
So for those of you listening in at home and don't understand what we're talking about this game for. As kind of a joke, we did a dual LP kind of Mary Kate and Ashley's Winner's Circle.
Yeah, I'll try and put a link to.
It's on this channel, right?
Well, I think this. I don't know where this video is going. This will probably go on my channel as well. But anyway, yeah, I'll put a link in the iTunes description and in the YouTube whatever to
it's an experience.
It's special video. We did 3 of them actually, 3 parts of that. So
yeah.
fun times. But aside from that, so here's one that Bally always reminds me of that I don't actually remember happening. But apparently, for one of my Christmases, I was bought the Xbox game Bounty Hunter, which was a Star Wars game where you played as Jango Fett, I believe. But it was an Xbox game, and I didn't own an Xbox. I only had a GameCube. so I got this Xbox game. I'm like, wait a second, I can't actually. This disc is too large for my GameCube. I can't put this in there. So I think that probably ended up getting returned, and I don't know what I got instead. But that's one of those moments where it's like, yeah, you know, parents try and aunties and uncles try, but video games sometimes. Too complicated.
I had a couple of those.
Yeah. Luckily, people keep receipts, and so that was, I think, easily able to be swapped over. But aside from that, it's hard for me to think of like ones that I got not necessarily wanting. Like there was a period of time where, you know, my parents would just buy games not really knowing what to get. So for GameCube one year, I got WrestleMania X8, and I also got I can't remember what the football game for GameCube is called. This is Football? No, This is Football was on PlayStation. Red Card.
The only one for
Red Card.
I don't think I've ever played. I've only played like 3 games on the GameCube.
Oh boy, yeah.
I own a GameCube.
That's crazy. How have you only played 3 games on GameCube?
Well, all right. The 2 Pokemon like Colosseum and Gale of Darkness.
Sure.
Like,
yes.
Because
yeah.
Melee and Double Dash.
Okay. I mean, you know, as far as GameCube games go, those are pretty significant.
I played Animal Crossing as well.
Okay, yeah. My first Animal Crossing was the DS one, so that's where I have all my
Oh, I'm an
memories.
idiot, actually. My favorite game of all time is on the GameCube, but we'll get to that later.
Okay, sure. Yes, what was I fucking talking about? I completely forgot now.
Present games, Bounty Hunter.
Yes, WrestleMania, and Red Card I got, and they're not the kind of games that like these days. There's no way I'd buy a wrestling game these days. But it was the thing that, you know, I got this and I'd played it, and I kind of liked wrestling games back in the day because they were really big on character customization. And I remember for one of my birthdays, like my friend being around and us just sitting around playing a PS2 wrestling game and just creating the most ridiculous character possible, just going nuts with the customization. And so that was something I was really into. And so I played quite a bit of WrestleMania X8 on GameCube. And then Red Card is just the most fucking absurd football game ever made. Like, you can play as teams that are completely ridiculous, like aliens and dolphins, and it's just you're encouraged to basically foul everyone, so you can just like punch the goalkeeper in the face and it like counts as part of the gameplay. Like it's just absurd. Okay. And
it's basically like there's a series like there's NFL Blitz, NHL Hits, I think it's called, and like there's like those games for like all these different sports where basically everyone's just like wild and just they fight instead of play the game most of the time. Yeah,
there's just like no rules basically.
Yeah, and then I think the hockey one, there's like this code you can put in and it turns like everyone into like sharks. It's really weird.
Yeah. So Red Card has like actual like teams which are literal dolphins just walking around the field.
Picture a dolphin walking, let alone kicking a ball.
It's so weird. It's so weird, but it's awesome. Like I absolutely loved it because it like I enjoyed football back in the day. I really don't care about it these days, but you know, it was a cool twist on a formula that I think just got stale with all the FIFA entries, you know, again and again. So yeah, I guess those were kind of 2 games that kind of like came out of nowhere. I'd never heard of them before, but I ended up really enjoying them and having a good time. So it did happen, I guess. So I guess now let's move into our childhood memories, like particular things that we can look back on and be like, hey, that was a cool moment when I played games when I was younger. What do you got, Nick?
All right. The first one that sticks out to me is, I'm going to go back to Pokemon Red for a second, but like not too long. It was just because when I went to get it in April of 96,
98 maybe?
Might have been
because
no,
Pokemon came out in Japan in 96.
The first time I ever played Pokemon was actually before it came out.
Okay.
My friend had an emulator. It was called the Rue emulator.
What, in 96?
he had a Pokemon Green game.
What the fuck?
It was in Japanese, and the game hadn't had a language pack, so it was just all these like botched characters.
Yeah.
Like there's just no text to it, and we were playing through Pokemon Green, and we actually managed to get like up to like Silphco without, and then we couldn't figure out where to go.
That's crazy. Because I remember
so
like there was a lot of like knockoffs and hacks that had a bunch of like unreadable characters, but you know this.
Yeah, this was just, it was a legitimate emulator.
Yeah.
But yeah, people were like really, because we wouldn't. It was just he and I would play in school. Like whenever it would rain, we would have like recess where we would go outside and play. But like if it would rain, we'd stay inside and use the computers, and we would just play during that. And we would play, and people would watch us, but we just wouldn't tell them how to get it.
Wow.
And they were just so jealous for years. And but yeah, when Red, like I couldn't get Red because it was sold out everywhere, obviously. Finally got it around the time of my brother's birthday, when it was like like I wanted to get it for my birthday, which was like a month and a half before. So it was completely unexpected because my dad had brought it home and he didn't tell me about it. So I guess I could have put that in the present list.
Yeah.
That I didn't expect. But it was just like me running around the house trying to find 4 AA batteries for this big brick of a Game Boy that I had.
Nice.
And like I just remember like looking for the batteries, like dumping out like this like cabinet full of crap looking, and I found like a single battery in there, and I was like, and like I ended up like stealing my sister's CD player to take batteries out of it.
Oh man.
And she was so mad at me because she like wanted to use it, and I just wouldn't give the batteries back.
Well, you needed them, so
absolutely. Yeah. But I think like one of my favorite memories was in Kingdom Hearts 1 when I was like probably 12 at the time, and I finally beat Sephiroth in the game, and he was like ridiculously hard. Especially
is he like a secret boss or something?
Yeah, he was like he had like all of these like one-hit kill moves and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, sounds like Sephiroth. Actually, the actual Sephiroth in Final Fantasy VII, I don't actually think has a one-hit kill move. He just has an ultimate that is just stupid. But
it's not a one-hit kill move. He lowers your health to 1.
Yeah, that's what he does.
Yeah,
that move sucks.
Yeah. So when I finally beat him, I think that was like one of the most like gratifying video game moments I had.
Nice.
So that's a good memory for me. Also, I think like just playing like Mario Kart 64 with my siblings, because like we never really talked much.
Yeah.
When we were younger, so just playing like Mario, like my older brother, because both my siblings are older, so like they talked a lot more. Okay. And they were just like, let's just ignore Nick, he's the loser. Oh. And so like when MK64, like when we got that, that's the one thing I think Nintendo did a lot better, was like the multiplayer. The multiplayer was more. Yeah,
I mean, it was just out the box. It was a focus because you had 4 controller ports versus the PlayStation's 2. So
right,
they were basically saying,
would play just. We always had somebody staying with us too, like one of my siblings' friends. So like we were always just 4-player Mario Kart 64.
Were you a GoldenEye household as well? Did you play any GoldenEye?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Nice. But yeah, just like those kind of memories in general, I think are the ones that stick out. Like when you like beat like a really hard game after trying for like a long time, especially when you're younger. For sure. And then also I think just Pokemon Diamond was a big one too. Yeah, so one of mine is tied up with Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. It's because how I got Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, which I don't know if I've told the story on the podcast. We probably have at some point, but it's the idea that we were in the UK, and so Diamond and Pearl was delayed here until like July. Like it came out in April in the States, and my dad was going on a business trip, and he happened to be going there, and I was like, me and my 2 friends want to play this game, and the DS was region free, so we asked him to like pick up copies, and so he did. He came back, and he actually drove to school like during the day, and both of my friends were there, and like I handed them the copies of the game, and later that day we were supposed to basically all be out and doing this thing where it was like a CCF thing basically, where there was like a marching band and everyone had to be outside. And I was out there on my own. I was like looking for them, and I couldn't find them. And so I go back to like our study later on,
and I knock on the door, and the door is locked. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I hear them like rustling, and then they like unlock this sounds really bad. They unlock the door, and they're just both sitting inside there playing fucking DS's, like their new Pokemon games. I'm like, guys, where the fuck were you? And they're like, oh, we were playing Pokemon, and then we forgot we were supposed to be at this thing, so we just like stayed here and locked the door so no one would find us. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? So yeah, that was an entertaining thing that happened when Diamond and Pearl first came out, and we managed to get access to it.
Hilarious.
Yeah, so
when I first got Pokemon Crystal, I actually didn't know Pokemon Crystal was a game. I thought it was just Gold and Silver. I had not known. It was probably out for like 4 or 5 months at the time.
Yeah.
Just because like it was so hard to get news back in the day. Like
yeah, news.
Unless you saw a commercial for it on TV, you didn't know. So my friend had Pokemon Crystal. It's like, whoa, what's this? He's like, yeah, it's the 3rd game, bro. And I was like, dude, I didn't even know this was out. I ended up trading it with him. So he gave me his Pokemon Crystal for, and I kid you not, I gave him the only one of my sister's Britney Spears CD.
What the fuck?
Because, I don't know, he was like super into Britney Spears, and his parents like wouldn't let him have the CD.
Really? Wow.
So I traded it to him.
Oh my god.
And my sister was just like, she had got it as like a whatever thing. I don't think she really cared. She
wasn't a big like Britney Spears fan, I guess.
And he was just like, yeah, I'll do that, sure.
That's crazy.
And that's how I got Pokemon Crystal and the Pokemon trading card game, actually, for the Game Boy Color.
Oh, nice, yeah. That's a good game.
So he must have really wanted that. That was one of my more fun memories, I think.
I wonder if he looks back on that trade now and thinks, man, I made the wrong decision.
Probably.
Oh dear. That's great. I liked Britney Spears in a way that was, I don't know, I had her first album for whatever reason.
I think everybody did. My brother definitely did.
Yeah, she was good when it started, and then I don't know. Things happened with Britney Spears. So I guess other Pokemon stuff was like sleepovers all the time I had with Pokemon, which was a big deal. There was also like moments where there was like 6 people all playing Pokemon at once in one house. And I remember trying to fight someone with a Mewtwo, and I just got decimated. I was like, what the fuck? How's this one thing killing me so easily? I just didn't understand, because I had like all these level 100s that I'd hacked basically using the, missing no trick and all that shit. And I just couldn't beat this guy's Mewtwo. And I was like, this is really annoying. And there was also during that time when we were like first starting to learn swear words, so I was being super edgy. And I remember going into the cave, whatever I can't, what the cave's called at the end of it.
Cerulean Cave.
Yeah. And I caught a Kadabra, which was really high level, and I just called it fuck. I was like, yeah, look at me, I can name my Pokemon.
Awesome, man.
I'm so awesome. So
you're basically a Call of Duty player.
Yeah, because I think what happened was I got destroyed by that Mewtwo, and I was like, oh, I need to go get this Mewtwo that's in the cave, because I hadn't got it yet at that point. And so yeah, on my journey I found a Kadabra, caught it, and called it fuck. So yep, go me. That was real clever. But
speaking of like sleepovers, we used to have one to play Smash 64 a lot.
Oh, nice.
And I remember one in particular, we were trying to unlock Luigi, and it took us like most of the night to do it.
Oh, really? How hard was it to unlock Luigi in 64?
I don't remember the unlock. I don't remember what you had to do to unlock him, but it was... I think like one of them was like board the platforms with the Jigglypuff.
Uh-huh.
And that one was like super hard.
Yeah, it's weird because I own Smash 64 through Virtual Console, and I don't think I actually have all the characters unlocked, because I'm sure there's like, I think you can unlock them just by playing enough matches, but there's like other weird ways to do it as well. Which is one of those things I kind of miss from Smash Brothers, because in Smash 4 there wasn't any like super weird ways to unlock characters. Whereas in Melee, there was like so many.
Yeah, it's called a credit card.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, oh god damn it.
I enjoyed like unlocking characters. It gave you some sense of achievement. But...
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny you bring up unlocking Luigi, because that's also kind of tied to one of my memories with games. Is I was at Bally's house playing Melee, and we were trying to unlock characters, and he had. Because the internet wasn't like super big back then, so it was hard to like look up how to unlock people. And he had a magazine that told you like how to unlock everyone, and we were trying to figure out Luigi. And what you had to do was beat like the first level of adventure mode and have like a 2 digit in the correct place at the end of the clock when you cross the finish line, and then Luigi would appear, and you'd fight him to try and unlock him. And we'd just been trying forever and ever to like beat him, and we couldn't because we were all really bad.
He was hard as a computer too.
Yeah,
especially as a kid.
He was difficult, and eventually Bally beats Luigi. And he just fucking erupts. He just fucking screams and starts running around the house, like shouting his head off because he'd unlocked Luigi. It was the most over-the-top reaction I've ever seen in my life for anything. And it was just so ridiculous because it was just like, it was so easy to unlock Luigi. Like, you just had to follow these instructions and do it. But for us, as like kids at the time, were like, oh my god, this is a monumental achievement. And his mum was like, what are you doing? Like, it was really strange. But he just ran around the house screaming his head off. So that's like seared into my brain. Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like other ones. Another one which kind of like more tied up with like marathon gaming sessions was Spider-Man 2. When that came out on GameCube, Bally got it, and we were at his house, and we played it for like 7 hours straight. And then we had a sleepover, and then I woke up the next morning, and he was like, I think we were just organized for me to go to his house, then him to come to mine. So we went to my house, and then we just played it for another 7 hours straight. It was just like this marathon session of doing nothing else but playing Spider-Man 2.
That game was so good. It was like, it didn't even matter what console you played it on. It was on GameCube, PS2, and I think it was on Xbox as well.
Yes.
But it was good on, it was just a really well-made game.
Yeah, and there really hasn't been a Spider-Man game to challenge it since, which is why I'm hoping this new one from Insomniac is going to hopefully do that. You seen the trailers for the new one?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. There's some quick time stuff, which I think people are a little bit iffy on, but aside from that.
I think they have like super high standards too.
Yeah, Insomniac are a really good studio. They make very good games.
So one of, I think, not really so much a memory. It wasn't that long ago. It was probably 6 or 7 years ago. But one of like my favorite series as a kid was Zoids.
Yeah, can you? So I knew this was going to come up. So can you please explain to me what the fuck Zoids is? Because you always talk about Zoids, and I'm like, what the shit like, is Zoids?
Basically, it's like these kind of robot-y esque animals that are like kind of alive but not really alive.
Okay.
But basically people pilot them.
So they're Gundam.
They're like kind of like Gundams based on animals.
Okay.
And they competitively fight each other with them. So like they'll have teams of 3 and they'll go into combat, and obviously if you knock out your...
Was this like a TV show or something back in the day? Is that
it was yeah. It was. And one of the games was called Zoids Battle Legends for the GameCube. And I was really super into the game. I loved the show. I loved the game when I was younger. And then I found out that they had made, that was actually the second one. The first one never got an American release. And the third one never got an American release.
Oh.
But the third one was supposed to be like this amazing game. The mechanics are awesome. They added like flying Zoids into the game, which was just not possible. Like they had flying Zoids in the one that I played, but like they would just hover off the ground.
Okay.
They couldn't figure out how to make them fly. And I was like, oh, cool. I have GameCube. Let's see if I can like region hack this bad boy and get Zoids versus 3. That's what they called it.
GameCube, I remember, was like pretty easy to change the region. It wasn't just like a flip that you switched, a switch that you flipped or something underneath it.
But the game was selling used for like $280.
That's absurd. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. And then you remember that like long odyssey I went on to hack my Wii U or my Wii?
Yes, yeah.
The regular Wii back in the day, like before I used all of the infinite blue shells on you in Mario Party.
Fuck that! That must be in your top gaming memories, screwing me over with.
Yeah, it's one of them. It's pretty good. I homebrewed my Wii for the purpose of playing Zoids versus 3 because you could region free it.
Right, because there was no like block on it.
Sure enough, it became one of my favorite games of all time.
Wow.
Just out of like enjoyment for the series, but also it was just a very good game as well. And I still don't, I can't read a single word of the game because none of the text is in English.
So those second 2 games are basically Japanese only releases.
Yeah. And yeah, so like just like it took me a really long time because my Wii version number was like a weird version number, so I had to go through like a whole bunch of extra crap, and it took me like a good 2 weeks to actually get my Wii working and like just like it finally working, and then the game actually living up to the hype was really a big thing. And there's like nothing online about the game.
Yeah,
like,
it's one of those things like the only person I ever hear talk about Zoids is you. Like that's where I know it from.
Like honestly, like I can upload a video. Like I uploaded a video of me playing it, and it still gets views because it's like the only one.
Yeah, because no one else on YouTube is like making videos about Zoids. So
no, but they should be. You all should be.
Nick, maybe this is the thing. This is where your career takes off. Is the Zoids YouTube scene? You got to do it.
Is a 14-year-old Zoids game?
Absolutely. That's what people care about niche games. Niche games can do well, so it is possible.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it for my memories. I think I'm out of memory. My memory is all gone.
Yeah, I know. The memories just seep away over the years, don't they?
I just want to, not have this podcast be like, 14 weeks long.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we could go that long.
We probably could do, for sure. There's another one that I want to bring up, which is tied to Pokemon, but also just like general games, whatever. It was a sleepover for one of my friend's birthdays, and this isn't really... I mean, I guess this was during the time when I first beat Pokemon Gold. Like, I got to the Elite Four and finished Gold for the first time, so like that's kind of the era around when this was happening. But this memory isn't really to do with games. My friend got a paintball gun for his birthday, okay? So he gets this paintball gun, and he stands out in the field. He lives out in the country because he moved there for whatever reason. And we're all standing in this field, and he's like, okay, I need to test my paintball gun. All of you stand there, and I'm going to shoot at you with my paintball gun. So we're just like standing there in this field, and our friend is just taking this paintball gun and like systematically shooting us with it. And I'm like, why is this happening? Like, how did I get into this situation? And I can't remember. There were some weird rules about it or some bullshit. But I ended up being like the last one standing there. I just got like hit a bunch with balls. It was really terrible. I don't think they actually had like paint inside them. They were like test ones or whatever.
Okay.
So I didn't like none of
those
my clothes
things
got
can
ruined,
hurt sometimes.
They are fucking painful if you get hit in the wrong place.
We used to have them as well, and my brother played pretty seriously, but he was also a really big douchebag. He literally put a bag of paintballs in the freezer, so they were frozen paintballs.
Fuck that
and
shit!
I had bruises all over me, and it hurt so bad.
That's fucking.
And then he wore this like swimming vest under his shirt. So whenever I would shoot him, it would just bounce off him and they wouldn't break. He would do the scummiest things ever.
Man,
I stopped playing paintball so fast.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there are any paintball video games. Like the closest I can think is Splatoon,
I'm sure there
which
are.
is like
no,
it's not
I'm
paintball,
pretty sure there's like these lower. What's the? I don't know. I don't even know how you would even.
Yeah,
say
just like second tier kind of games. Yeah,
definitely not AAA games.
Yeah, like kind of the THQ sort of level games.
Yeah, they're like lowercase a games.
Yeah, exactly. There probably are a bunch of those out there. But yeah, I guess I'm trying to think if there's anything else, but those are a lot of the significant ones. Yeah. So I guess to close this out, I put up a question that I haven't really thought about myself, but is there a childhood game that you think holds up today the most out of all of them that you remember?
You talked a lot about Guitar Hero.
Yeah, that holds up pretty well. The thing that I think doesn't hold up about Guitar Hero is, especially the Wii game, it was built for SD TVs. So playing those on TVs these days, you have to like adjust for the lag.
Input lag.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which sucks.
I would get so frustrated because I thought I was getting worse.
No, yeah.
And then I realized, wait, there's input lag on this. And that's why I can't use the stupid wireless controller that came with World Tour.
Yeah.
Because wireless controllers just make it worse. So, like, I refuse to play unless I can get a Guitar Hero 2 wired controller. Like, I will not play it unless it's wired.
Need that precision. Sure.
Need it. Like, I'm an elitist when it comes to my Guitar Hero.
Absolutely.
If I'm going to fail the solo of one, I want to do it wired.
Exactly. Exactly.
One of the older games I think holds up really well is Street Fighter 2.
Yeah, sure.
it was just like a really solidly made fighting game. Like if you want to play a fighter, Street Fighter 2 is still one of the, like a really popular one to do.
Yeah, it's a benchmark for today.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I think Kingdom Hearts 2 also holds up. Not the first one. The first one doesn't really hold up too well.
See, I was waiting to discuss Kingdom Hearts with you because we were talking about wrong opinions. So
yeah, the first one I really enjoyed, and it's obviously one of my favorite games. A lot of reason for it being nostalgia.
Sure.
But mechanically, the first one was not very good. Kingdom Hearts 2, I think, is a lot better mechanically and holds up a lot better.
I do want to get to them, for sure. And I think I will.
And also God of War, too. God of War was pretty good.
Okay. Yeah, and they've remastered a lot of these games now. Like Kingdom Hearts is all available on PS4.
Yeah, I'm sure I haven't played the 60 FPS versions yet.
Right, so they were 30 originally?
Yeah, they were 30 originally.
It's nice that they've done that.
Actually, them putting it in 60 FPS caused a lot of new like game-breaking glitches and bugs.
Oh, interesting.
So they roll out patches like pretty frequently for the
collection
HD remakes.
Yeah.
Just to make sure they work well, and they actually been pretty good about it. So people are pretty happy with them. And their patching.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely think like if I had to pick one, it would probably be like either Street Fighter 2 or Guitar Hero that hold up. Like that you can just like pick up and you're like, okay, this is the game I remember.
Yeah.
And I can still enjoy it now.
Yeah, that makes sense, I think. Like
for like as a direct contrast, like Mario Kart 64 does not hold up.
Oh yeah, Mario Kart 64 is among the worst Mario Karts. I think the things that I have fond memories about that game is all to do with the battle mode, because that's the one thing where
I think it's more of the social aspect of it. Just with friends.
Also GoldenEye, like generally any N64 game I don't think holds up particularly well. So I think Mario 64 probably is one of the better ones. Like that and Ocarina of Time. Like
I still have not played 64. Really should get on that.
I play the DS version.
Smash 64 holds up.
Yeah.
People obviously still play it competitive.
Yeah. For me, a lot of GBA games are the sort of things I was playing a lot when I was younger.
I couldn't say the Gen 1 Pokemon games hold up because they don't really hold up to anything. They're just 2D RPGs. So.
Yeah. It's funny because Bally played Red last year and he enjoyed going back through it, but it was interesting like talking to him about it because it feels very traditional JRPG in a sense that the Pokemon start to move away from. Like the dungeons feel much more like traditional dungeons. Like you go into this place with a bunch of like unnavigable areas that are really complicated and you get lost in. Like the Silphco building or whatever, the hideout that they have is just like the maze of, going on these floors that lead you to different areas. It was just ridiculous. So yeah, it's interesting.
I think the reason, like when I think RPGs, I don't think Pokemon.
Yeah, exactly, because it doesn't feel like an RPG.
I think a big reason for that is because of the repetition. Like I've played so many times that I don't get that sense of like getting lost. Like,
right.
Having done speedruns of Red for, a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I know every step to take to get through the game as fast as possible.
Yeah.
So like it doesn't really feel that way. So just like the newer games don't really feel like RPGs either. They just feel like more like it's like its own genre pretty much, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, for me I think stuff like some of my favorite games, which are the original Fire Emblem and Metroid Fusion in particular. And it's interesting because I think a lot of people are like, oh yeah, Super Metroid still holds up to this day. But the thing I contend with Super Metroid is it does not control that well. Like it feels much more finicky. It's not as tight or as fluid as the later 2D Metroids. And so Super Metroid, its game design is fantastic, but as an experience to play today, I don't actually think it holds up that well. I think it's one of those games that would really benefit from a remake. Whereas something like Metroid Fusion, despite the fact that it's like less exploration based and it has all the story stuff, the mechanics of that game are so good, even today. Like they're so tight and fluid and snappy, and it just feels nice to play that game even in 2017. So that's the sort of thing.
Yeah, Super is the only one I've ever played. The only Metroid game I've ever.
What do you think of Super Metroid?
I'm not really big on that genre.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I understand why people like it.
For sure,
It's not my genre.
But yeah, I don't know. I think those are kind of the ones that I think of the most. And I think, like, if you're talking like GameCube era onwards, generally it's pretty easy to go back to games like that. The N64 is a weird generation.
Yeah, I think because we're still on. Yeah, we're still on. I think it's because like that generation, PS2, GameCube, they have this more 3D movement that you're more comfortable with now.
Yeah.
Like they introduced being able to move in like pretty much any direction, which is why I think Mario 64 holds up pretty well, because you can do that there as well.
Yeah.
Whereas like when you go back to older games and you're like, like the early PS1 games didn't even have joystick compatibility.
Have you tried to play Tomb Raider recently? The original Tomb Raider? Because, boy, that game...
I played Tomb Raider 2 a couple of years ago, and it's just... Those games are awful.
They're unplayable.
Like, the new Tomb Raiders are such masterpieces in comparison.
Oh, God, they're so good. Oh, I love the new Tomb Raiders.
Yeah.
Have you played Rise yet? The second one?
I have, yeah.
Nice.
And those are like... Actually, the newest, like the original Tomb Raider reboot, was the first game I ever played on. The first PC game I had played when I got my new PC back when it came out, like 2012.
I did that as well. I remember.
And I didn't even have a graphics card when I played it.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah. So then I had to replay it again with my graphics card because I could put on like the nice hair.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Trez FX.
So, like,
oh my god. Trez FX is a fucking nightmare. Like that tanks your GPU crazy.
So like once I got my GPU, I had to replay it again in better quality, and then I played Dishonored right after that as well.
Yeah, those are some great games for sure.
I think like the last 5 years we've had like a ton of really, really good games.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. This year in particular has been really good. You've been playing a lot of stuff. You've said like online multiplayer stuff. Aside from like,
I haven't played anything. This has been like the biggest year for video games, especially single player games, and I haven't played any of them.
Yeah, so like Horizon came out, and Zelda and the Switch.
I haven't played Horizon. I haven't played Zelda. I haven't played.
Nier came out. Nier Automata. People are talking about.
Yeah.
But you've been playing, I guess, what is like the biggest breakout hit of the year, which is PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds.
That's true. Definitely early access.
Yes, 100%.
But also very, very fun too. And it's just like this. It gives a lot of control to the players, and I think that's something that games don't do.
It's one of those concepts which I've always been,
especially shooters.
Yeah, it's one of those concepts I've always been a fan of, because I always, back in the day when we were playing like Minecraft together, I was always like, oh, we should try and do one of those Hunger Games servers, because like that's the sort of thing that I like basically making a meta game out of the game itself. And then PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds comes in, it's like, no, this is just the game. Like, it's literally that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I think, like, most shooters, like Overwatch, they have these characters and, like...
Yes.
Or they'll have these, like, gun loadouts. Like, Titanfall will have, like, loadouts.
Right.
And you have to choose, and, like, this is what you get.
Mm-hmm.
PlayerUnknown's lets you, you find items.
Yeah.
You find whatever. You kill people and take their stuff.
Speaking of like GoldenEye, it's kind of like a throwback to stuff like that, where on GoldenEye you'd go around the map and pick up new guns that were just lying there and stuff. So
yeah. So and I think that's one of, like, looting. Like I said, looting is probably my favorite part of the game. Like the fighting is an afterthought
for sure,
and like just driving around the map doing ridiculous things is really fun too.
Yeah. Is anything else you've been playing before we close this out?
It's pretty much been that. I feel like there is a game and I just can't remember it. There's a free-to-play shooter. I haven't really played a lot of shooters in my lifetime. I'm not really big on shooters.
Yeah, neither am I.
There's a free-to-play shooter called Black Squad that just came out, and it's basically like a Call of Duty, like Counter-Strike type of game. Yeah. Just like a basic shooter. That's like really, it's actually pretty fun. You just get right into the game and play, and there's none of this like hubbub about people. There's like no voice chat, so people don't yell at you for crap.
Yeah.
I've been playing some Borderlands 2 recently.
Oh, nice.
Again for like the 900th time.
I should play some Borderlands 2 with you, because I've never played that game, and that game is supposed to be good in co-op.
It's really fun multiplayer too.
Yeah.
Gubs actually recently got it too.
Oh, we should all hook up and play that.
Yeah.
It sounds fun.
I think I like recently rebought Sleeping Dogs and Shadow of Mordor.
Those games are both really good. I'm a fan of
because
both of them.
Last time I played them, I didn't actually own them when I played them, so
correcting past mistakes, of course.
Right. The Steam sale was pretty good this year.
Yeah, it was good. I picked up a few things. I got Hollow Knight and a couple of other things.
Yeah, so. I've seen a lot of people playing Hollow Knight on my friends list.
It's really good. It's really good.
Yeah.
Once
in a while, I'll peek at my library and I'll see No Man's Sky on my list, and I'll just shed a little bit of a tear.
Oh no, you bought No Man's Sky? Oh no, Nick.
And I'll just remember every day for the rest of my life that I missed the return date by one day.
Oh no,
I could have gotten a refund, and it didn't happen.
Well,
just didn't happen.
I think if there's any other way to close this podcast, it's on disappointment about No Man's Sky. So, Nick, where can people find you if they want to follow your stuff?
They can find me on YouTube and Twitch at Suuperblah. Actually, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter at Suuperblah with 2 U's. And it's all the same link.
Sweet.
Kind of. And yeah, and I've had a lot of fun doing this. It's always fun to dip into the nostalgia pool.
Yeah,
sometimes.
Absolutely. It's a good time. So yeah, people go check out what you're doing. You were doing a Twitch stream the other day of playing a Pokemon game with one controller, but 2 different Pokemon games at once. And I have no idea how you set that shit up, but it seems ridiculous. So
yeah, like you have to be innovative with Pokemon.
Exactly.
It can't be fun anymore.
Yeah, that's like 90%.
So I figured, hey, let's just play 2 different games with one controller and see how bad it goes.
Yeah, no, it's a great idea. So yeah, you can find us in all the usual places. We're on iTunes, we're on YouTube. You can follow the podcast Twitter, which is at TNL Podcast. You can follow me at Lordnbz, and give us a review on iTunes. We'll be back with regularly scheduled programming with episode 98. But yeah, if you're one of those people who haven't finished Zelda yet or just didn't want to listen to our spoiler cast, then I hope you enjoyed this as a bonus extra podcast, and we should do this again sometime. And Nick, it'd be good to have you back on the real podcast and see if Bally can join us as well. So, then
I'd have to admit that Bally actually exists.
I know. It's terrifying.
I still have a little bit of an inkling that he may be an imaginary friend.
Yeah. We'll see. The true test will come. But until then, thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.